Calling this Community Redevelopment Agency Board meeting to order. We have the invocation presented by Board Member Carlson this morning.
Good morning. I'll introduce Robert Pahachik, who goes by Mr. P. Mr. P was born with a learning disability and a speech impediment, but persevered through public school, determined to succeed. After high school, he joined the Air Force and served with honor. Eventually, he made his way to Tampa, graduating cum laude from the University of Tampa in 2010 with a degree in secondary education. For the past 10 years, Mr. P has been a dedicated educator at Coleman Middle School. This year, he coordinated efforts to provide Thanksgiving meals for 9 families, organized a donation of hundreds of toys, and assisted with neighborhood cleanup efforts after Hurricanes Helene and Milton. His dedication to his students and community was recognized when he was named Teacher of the Year at Coleman Middle School. Mr. P is an active member of Hyde Park Methodist Church, leads Coleman's student government, and devotes his free time to helping struggling students achieve academic success. I want to thank his principal and his colleagues for allowing him to go to school late this morning. And if everyone please stand for the invocation and the pledge.
Good morning, City Council members, attendees, and the people of Tampa. My name is Mr. P, and I'm privileged of teaching on this beautiful day. Today, I stand before you as a testimony to those who come before me and those who have paved the way to offer me opportunity to succeed. I'm reminded of Paul's letters to the Ephesians, where he writes in 6:4, "Fathers, do not exasperate your children, but raise them in the love of the Lord." This verse reminds me that we are one large family, united in common purpose to nurture, guide, and uplift the next generation. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we are here today. We lift up our city. We ask for your guidance and wisdom for our leaders, that they may work to make Tampa a safer, cleaner, and more affordable place for all those who call it home. Bless our efforts as a community that we may build a future where our children can thrive and one day inherit a city filled with hope, opportunity, and unity. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of
The United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Can we have roll call, please?
Carlson. Hurtak.
Here.
Clendenin.
Here.
Maniscalco. Vieira. Miranda. Here. Henderson.
Present.
We have a physical quorum.
Okay. Board Member Maniscalco and Board Member Vieira will be arriving shortly this morning. Can I have a motion to adopt the minutes from the last meeting? Motion by Board Member Clendenin, second by Board Member Miranda. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries. We are going to move on to public comment. We have one speaker online. Well, we need to adopt the agenda. Of course we do. Thank you. Let's do that first. Yeah, we have a walk-on item. So can I have a motion to have a walk-on item first for the City of Tampa Black History Committee? Okay, all those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, now, Interim Director McCray, good morning. Let's set the agenda.
Yes, good morning. Cedric McCray, Interim Tampa CRA Director. The agenda will follow. You do have a request for continuance as it relates to the Gasworks CDD, and that was submitted by Mr. Tyler Hudson yesterday afternoon to continue that to March. We also are requesting a continuance of the Tampa Heights and Central Park CRP updates to the March agenda.
Okay.
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Carlson, second by Board Member Miranda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's number 1 and number 3. Move to March 13th. Okay. Any other updates?
4. It was 4.
I'm sorry, Gasworks is 4, not the CAC presentation. The motion is for, excuse me, hold on just a second. So it is the number 4.
What was the other one said?
And the agreement,
Yes.
the
Number
commercial
6.
agreement number 5.
Yes.
I can't see it. The update redevelopment for Central Park is number 3.
Yes.
So that needs to be continued
Yes.
till March 13th.
Yes,
And
Tampa
that's
Heights and
already on
Central
the
Park.
agenda. And then Gas Works is number 4. 3 and 4 are being continued to March 13th.
Yep.
Can I have a motion just to get it right?
Motion to move those two.
Board Member Carlson, second by Board Member Miranda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Now we can get started with public comments.
I move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you. Board Member Hurtak, move to adopt the agenda, second by Board Member Clendenin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, let me, hand myself. So that I can focus. Okay, now we have public comment, and we have one person online. Mr. Randolph is online, available to speak, and we can start with him. Ms. Johnson, I need a fan.
CDC. So since we last spoke at the meeting last week related to our upcoming meeting on gentrification, public safety and economic development and connecting the dot, we've had over 60 residents and others from the Tampa Bay area to register. This week, we're going to expand it to invite people from around the nation. Unfortunately, it's limited to 100 seats. What is attracting people nationally is how we was able to do with no money, no website, and no office, position ourselves to increase the economic opportunity for all residents from the bottom up by creating a public-private relationship using a resident-driven approach. 2 of those programs, the first one is artificial intelligence, and related to education, virtual AI tutor, so that no student will be left behind. This software will teach students as virtual students to identify their weakness and their strength and tailor their learning to have them excel in the school. There will be no failing students in West Tampa. Teaching AI. Starting with grades 7 and beyond, we'll be working with students to get ahead of the technology. This includes learning them how to develop mobile applications, game applications, and beyond. Our goal is to create the first millionaire out of West Tampa using this program. Workforce, retooling elders. By providing elders with skills that will increase their economic value, even those with less than a 9th grade education will benefit. This initiative aims to enhance their employability. Home-based initiative. This is how we're going to reduce gentrification by providing residents with the opportunity to start their own business and actually providing them with microloans to do so. This includes residents with less than a 9th grade education, those with criminal records, those who are disabled, and the at-risk youth as a whole. In addition to that, we're going to talk about the West Tampa Culture Center, which is the first culture center, community-based culture center in the state of Florida. And of course, we're going to talk about bringing back the Yellow Jack homes to where they should be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Randolph. Okay, Ms. Katrina House, we're going to have you come before us for the City of Tampa Black History Committee. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Katrina House, the current president of the City of Tampa Black History Committee. I would like to formally invite our Honorable Mayor Jane Castor, our Chief of Staff, the administration, all of the honorable chairpersons, our distinguished sponsors, family, friends, my new family, the CRA team, and the community to join us as we host our 37th celebration. Our theme this year, Trailblazers Leading Change, will honor a few individuals within our community that have been identified as trailblazers in their field. I'm excited to share with you, we have a phenomenal speaker, Dr. Hill. Dr. Angela Hill. She is the Associate of Clinical Affairs at USF Health College of Pharmacy. Dr. Hill is a licensed pharmacist with a clinical focus on Alzheimer's disease and related dementias, which include research on biomarkers, vaccines, disease-modifying therapies, and medical foods being investigated to treat Alzheimer's disease. We will also be entertained by What About Mama? It's a jazz group along with an authentic African dance by the Kumba Dancers. In addition, this is the first year we will have on display original artwork by 4 local African American artists whose work is currently being displayed at City Hall and at Hannah City Center. And we will also have the pleasure of having in attendance Men of Vision who will help be our greeters. This event is free and open to the public. Our event will be held at a new location, the exciting Tampa Theater, located at 711 North Franklin Street, on Monday, February the 17th at 11 a.m. Doors will open at 10 a.m. and parking is made available at Fort Brook Garage. The first 600 guests will have their parking validated once the program concludes. Other exciting events to look forward to from the City of Tampa Black History Committee this year include hosting our 10th anniversary for a golf tournament on April 26th at Rogers Park, our 27th anniversary for our scholarship ceremony where we provide scholarships for graduating seniors late May, and essays are now being accepted. And we will also have a community outreach and more. I would like to thank, once again, Tampa City Council for the opportunity to appear before you today to extend this invitation to the public. I would also like to thank the members of the City of Tampa Black History Committee for all of their hard work putting this program together, and to the members who joined me here today in support of this invitation. Again, this invitation is free and it is open to the public. It will be on Monday, February the 17th. Doors will open at Tampa Theater at 10 o'clock a.m. Come on out and have a great time.
Thank you. I saw some medals that you wanted to give us. That's not for us, those medals?
But
No.
I didn't know I could bring them up.
Yes, of course. You
Oh,
can
okay
present
then.
those to us.
Well, I do have a token of our appreciation to extend to you all for allowing us to bring this invitation to Tampa City Council. And I would like to present to you guys, just being honored by us, a nice medal. But give me a second, I gotta get it.
Okay, we can get ready for our next public speakers as Ms. House finishes up.
Those are an example of a token of appreciation that we will also present to our honorees on Monday. But we have not had an opportunity to formally honor you guys at all of our events. You guys have been in support of us. Most of you have also extended a proclamation to us from time to time. So this is just our way of saying thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And our board member is not here. Here, Mr. Early.
And if anyone has any other questions regarding our event, you can find it on cotbhc.org, or you can email us at cotbhc@gmail.com. If you have any questions, I'm here. If not, I will see you guys Monday morning.
Thank you so much, Ms. House.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
Councilwoman Henderson, question? Is our attorney online?
He is.
Yes.
Okay, very good. I see.
Thank you. Good morning. Okay, we will continue with public comment. So those of you who are interested in speaking, please come forward. Thank you, Board Member Carlson. If he wants to talk to you, no, it's from you need to stand. No. Okay, Ms. Soto? Almost ready.
Good morning, Stephanie Pointer. Here lately, we've been talking a lot about garages and the sizes of garages. And I realized that we have a technical standard for the city of Tampa for our garages. And this is if you come straight into the garage, right? If you're driving straight into it from the street, not if you're turning in. So we've got our 9-foot wide garages, which we found, because we all know how wide your cars are, that's not really wide enough to be able to open the door. But what's funny to me is, why are we still having developments? A technical standard can be changed without a lot of hoopla. All it takes is for you guys to make a motion to change this technical standard. And I'm trying to figure out why, when staff presented a PowerPoint to you guys on March the 7th of 2024, and this is their PowerPoint slide right here. And I just showed you guys this the last couple weeks. That we know that 9 feet isn't wide enough, and we still haven't made a motion since March the 7th of last year to fix this problem. What I'm really dumbfounded by is the fact that all this stuff was presented and we didn't do anything with it. And I noticed that Councilman Clendenin, at one of the last couple hearings, made a comment about, I thought we took care of this garage issue. This is not a land development code change. This is a technical standard change that you guys can ask for, you can make motions for, and have them changed in the technical standards. And that they should be on every single site plan that's presented by council, to council. But and we also, with the same, in the same motion, it was kind of, they kind of traveled together, was the definition of courtyards and the aisle style. And we need to have a definition of what a alleyway is, what a street is, and the width of those, and a drive aisle, what the definition of that is. Because if we're allowing developers to put in drive aisles instead of putting in streets, and because they're private, they get to call them whatever they want. And if they're not wide enough, then we end up with all the overflow, just like I have in my little neighborhood right here that I've told you guys about and everybody's been to. You know, we have deficient driveways, we have drive aisles that aren't wide enough. Now we have made 27 parking spaces in my community. And every time we walk the dogs, I count how many cars are on the street. Doesn't matter whether it's 7 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night. There are at least 8 vehicles sitting on the street in visitors parking that belong to our homeowners because we have deficient driveways. So just keep that in mind, and I'd love to see somebody make a motion and get started on fixing this problem. Thank you.
Next speaker, please. Good morning.
Good morning, Allison Hewitt, East Tampa resident and business owner. My comments will be directed to the East Tampa District projects capital updates. One is the community redevelopment plan. They presented on the 22nd to the community, asking the community what they wanted to see and things like that in that nature. My concern is the CRP is what governs the CRA, East Tampa CRA. And so there were no comments on whether or not the strategic priorities in the current CRP, did they work? Were they successful? And do we still want them? And so now we see that 60% of the CRP will be presented on March 4th. But we have not had a community conversation to see this is what has worked. So how do we know where we're going unless we plan it? Or are we trying to create a CRP that matches the SAP? The current SAP that's approved does not correlate with the current CRP. So is it the plan for the city to give us a plan, or is it a process like the original CRP to have a true economic development plan? So that's one issue there. The second issue is the stormwater ponds. In the current CRP, it's number 6, in the current CRP, It states that a system-wide stormwater study should be conducted to know whether or not we need the amount of size for the stormwater plan, because they would like to reclaim some of that land to build housing and commercial. Was that done, or are we still going to keep that stormwater plan and then go against the CRP, which the CRP clearly says, please create additional housing and commercial areas to reclaim the stormwater. That's item 6. And then lastly, we have, I have a comment about the special projects request number 15. On page 15 on the CRP, it said how the questions and things that should be asked before you do a significant for private enterprise. That information, all of that page for the CRP was not presented to the CAC for them to be able to make and ask the questions on whether or not that funding falls within the CRP. And another question, so this, they asked additional questions at the CAC, but this here says that it is not started. So does it not have to have a CAC recommendation before it comes to you? Does it not have to pass you before it gets on these project plans? Because what you appears to say to the community that this is already approved, and it says not started, like it could say it becomes started. Not approved, doesn't say still needs to go through the process, it just says not started. And we just need to make sure we're having some clear communication with our community and make sure we maintain trust and accountability and transparency. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Eileen Henderson. I'm here today after a meeting that we had with the CAC last week, and it's in regards to the 1601 East Columbus Drive Special Projects Grant request. There was a lot of questions. It was a great presentation, and first and foremost, I want to make it clear that everyone on that committee was on board for that restoration project. I just want that to be understood, because I think that's important that you all know that. The questions that came into play, and they were brought to us by citizens, and I think it's important and it's responsible, me as a member, to bring that forward. And it was a very good one, because I didn't understand it. It talked about how did this request get past the process and to us, for us to vote on it, when at 50%, if liquor sales are over 50%, then a grant cannot be given. So my question is, well, they haven't even built it, so how do you know? So we're being asked to grant money for a restoration project. Who's going to monitor that? And then what are we going to do if they go past the 50% sales? Are we going to take the money back? It just didn't make sense to me in terms of process. So I needed to bring that to your attention. It came up at the meeting, and I thought it was a very valid question to ask for us to get some answers on how does that work. The question I had most importantly was, how did we get here to begin with? Why is this even before me? What is that process? And I don't think there were any clear-cut answers for us. Apparently people meet, but there's no meeting minutes for that meeting, and then there's another meeting, and then they decide to bring it to us. I'm a process kind of gal. That just doesn't jive in terms of government and process. It's just my opinion. The other thing for me, which is paramount, this project sits in Ybor City. I don't care how you color it. I don't care what the boundaries are. It is Ybor City. I asked Mr. Ybor City himself, Joaquin Carter, and 110% he agrees, although it's north of Columbus. You can look at the map for the Barrio Latino Commission here with the city of Tampa, and they will tell you that J.C. Newman sits in the National Historic Landmark District since 1990, and Sanchez y Haya, which is the project that we're specifically talking about, sits in the Ybor City Local Historic District since 1974. So, as an East Tampa representative, why is this before me? I don't understand it. I have been told boundaries can't be changed. This is not right. Asking for $5 million from the East Tampa community where it can be better served for a project that the Ybor City CRAs, because they have two, should be funding is where this should go. And you all need to be aware of that. And I'm here representing the citizens that were there and the committee members that can't be here because some of us have to go to work. Thank you, Council. I do appreciate all of you, and I hope that we can do something about this.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Drew Newman, and that's actually my project. My great-grandfather founded our cigar company in 1895, and in 1953, he bought the El Reloj Cigar Factory at 16th and Columbus, and we proudly called it our home for the last 72 years. As Ms. Henderson noted, she's absolutely right. We're in the Ybor City National Historic Landmark District, the city's local historic district, and for reasons I don't understand either, we're in the East Tampa CRA. As you may know, we've been working to restore our factory and improve our neighborhood because it's our home too, and we care a lot about it, and we want to preserve Tampa's cultural heritage. And we're asking the CRA and going through the process now for a grant to support that process. It's not on the agenda before you today. Instead, I'm here for two reasons. The first is to support with what Ms. Henderson said, which is it does seem awfully odd for us to be in the Ybor City Historic District and in the East Tampa CRA. I'm sure there's a story behind it because there's a story behind everything, but if the city ever decided to adjust the boundaries, I think it would make a lot of sense, and we'd be happy to be part of that process. And then secondly, as Ms. Henderson said, I attended the CAC meeting in East Tampa last week, and I learned a lot. It was a really good experience, and I got a lot of thoughtful questions, and thankfully, I'm very grateful for this, the CAC invited me back next month to bring answers to those questions, and I'm diligently working to get answers and look forward to sharing it with them. But I know there's a lot of questions about our project, and so I wanted to come here today and just say if there's anybody in the audience that has questions or wants to talk about it, happy to step outside and answer anything. And anyone who's listening online, my email address is dnewman@jcnewman.com. Feel free to call, email, happy to meet with anyone, go anywhere, have people over, walk the site, and just continue the process. One thing I've learned going through this process is that there are a lot of people in our city who deeply care about Tampa and want to make it better. And that's a really great thing because there's a lot of need, a lot of opportunity, and I'm just very happy that we can be a part of that process and look forward to coming back to you at a future date after we go back before the CAC and continue the conversation and work through all this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Keela McCaskill, founder of the Center for Economic Development, advocate in East Tampa, and a concerned citizen for many reasons. Some of you seem to have turned a deaf ear to the people in East Tampa that serve this community over and over again. You seem to have turned a blind eye to what's happening in East Tampa. And what's really concerning is that this East Tampa CAC is new. The majority of that group is new. And so they've been presented with two major projects, and they haven't had training. They don't know Robert's Rules of Order. They don't know sunshine. They don't know nothing. They don't know the priorities of the community. They don't know anything. But yet, a $5 million request and a $6 to $9 million request is in front of them with absolutely no training. It's concerning to me because your track record in this city, not you individually, but your track record in this city concerning black people and their real estate has been questionable. Remember Madam Fortune Taylor? Well, just recently, we begged to get a name on a bridge. She owned 33 acres of real estate, but the mayor turned developer after he took it from her, became a developer, and all we have left is a bridge, and her name still may not be on it. Remember Tampa Park? Before, when those people tried to rehab those apartments that was built by black people for black people to have affordable housing, and they couldn't get 2 cents from that CRA that is sitting in the middle of that. No support. But when the new developer came along, and I like the developer, so I'm not gonna say nothing about him, I'm gonna talk about your part in this involvement. No support from the CRA. That existed. But yet, when the new developer came along, that respectfully didn't want your money because they could do it on their own, you offered all kinds of assistance. I'm concerned as a citizen because it seems like you silenced the voice of the community. And again, your track record is ridiculous concerning our people and their real estate. I'm looking at Channelside, CRP was written 2004, and so was East Tampa's. Do you see the disparity? I mean, have you seen Channelside from 2004? They're winning off an old CRP, and East Tampa looks the same. You put a police station there, so we're gonna criminalize them, and they're gonna pay for it. So we're gonna do that, and we're gonna put a wellness center that was a community-led project. I'm a concerned citizen. I brought you
Please be quiet while
I
the
hope I get that
commenter is
minute back
speaking.
while you banging. I'm a concerned citizen because of those reasons, and I think they're legit. If you have any decency in you, any moral compass, you know that these concerns are legit. Some of you are immature and unprofessional enough to not support people that didn't vote for you. But I'm gonna say to the rest of you, they're one vote, and many of you have other aspirations when they're no longer on this board. They know that they're done. But I'm asking you to make this be a wake-up call. Wake up and pay attention to what's happening. Both CRAs, CRP was 2004. Look at the difference. Nobody is that dumb, deaf, or blind. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Connie
Stay-
Burton. I'm here to first celebrate the 116-year history of the NAACP. We are celebrating Founders Day on February the 12th. And in that recognition, I would also like to recognize a young sister, a young woman that died at the age of 44, but was 23 at the time, that had enough courage to sing and to bring attention to the suffering of black men in particular through her lyrics called Strange Fruit, Sister Billie Holiday. Why is that important? It's because we still see the ongoing slaughter and brutality, whether it be physical or through policies that black people are still suffering. Happy Black History Month. So I want to bring also to the item of Tampa Heights. I remember about in 2020, there was a proposal by 8 residents of Tampa Heights at that time said they want to extend their boundaries all the way down to Martin Luther King. Guess what? They have succeeded. They have succeeded. If you look at now the closure of Robles Park and go one street over, you will see houses in that development at $500,000. All gone. All symbols of black landmarks gone in this city as we continue to put this city as being somewhat progressive. I admire women that have done this research about this special grant project. I want to see how y'all gonna shove that down our throats. An alcohol, a cigar lounge, a bar, a restaurant, and they want $5 million from poor people. I want to see how you're gonna dress that up and tell us how many Afro-Cubans roll cigars and how that's gonna be to our best advantage. I want to see that. I want to see how when you bought on Lake Avenue and you talk about walkable communities, you got the Gator building right there that can serve interest for our community to have training and entrepreneurship. But that's not the landmark for East Tampa. You know what the landmark for East Tampa is now? Go down there on Columbus Drive where houses cannot even be rented out. They're leased now for almost $4,000 a month. This is the stuff you want to shove down our throat. And while each of you all have your own vision, the sad reality in the black community is that we always start at square one every time we get a new legislator, a new activist, a new politician that take us to their vision. Their vision is what they want, not what the community wants. We are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Uhuru Mentiznot. I said Uhuru means freedom in Swahili, Mentiznot means anything's possible. The fact of the matter is when people come to a public meeting and people telling them they can't, you have a double standard. I wish if they can stop my time so I can talk about this double standard. You got police officers, firefighters, people giving whatsoever, people like, yeah. But when common citizens come up and say something and people want to acknowledge it, no, you've got decorum then. It's a double standard. Ain't no MFing way a person's gonna tell me not to, no way, absolutely, positively no way. You have to take me out here in handcuffs, just like they brought us from Africa, in handcuffs. If you're gonna tell me I can't acknowledge if someone's speaking in an MFing political meeting. That's what people do. They show approval or disapproval in public meetings. They show approval or disapproval. And y'all with your nonsense trying to treat adults like little children. Like we don't know what we came down here for. Like we don't know why we got in our cars, got on the bus, walked down here, came upstairs, and came in the building. Like we little MFing children. What kind of nonsense is that? But the fact of the matter is, what I'm here to talk about is child support. It's illegal and unconstitutional, and this city council need to do something about it. It need to start somewhere. Y'all MFers don't do nothing. Y'all ain't did nothing about Palestine. Bunch of people got massacred right in your face. Y'all cowards. Every last one of y'all cowards. Y'all are shameful. Y'all are shameful expectations of a human being. Shameful expectations of human beings. Plain and simple. Every last one of you. Child support's been killing black people. Been killing black families. It's been murdering black families. Driver's license suspensions, incarceration, purges, writ of bodily attachment. Writ of bodily attachment. That sounds like some slave stuff. Ruining black men's lives, ruining it, ruining their families. That have to stop. This city council have to do something, say something about Palestine. Something got to come out your mouth, because if not, you garbage. And something have to come out your mouth about child support. Black people scared to come down here, and y'all doing more to make them scared to come down here. You have to do something about it. And y'all always got a scam. Y'all scammers, nothing more, nothing less. Every last one of y'all, scammers.
Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Councilwoman and Councilman. My name is Ryan Hayes, president of Cairo and Friends. I've been coming here probably for the last 9 months, just trying to gain some traction and so forth. Just bringing it to your attention, at the Oldsmar Flea Market where we have resided for the last 2 years, we have 2 tractor trailers, a 48-foot and a 40-foot full of inventory that's been donated to us. And we're at the point to right now, if I could put this right here, they're planning on evicting us from our trailers because our department store has closed since Milton. I have over 24 invoices of paying on time. My monthly rent was $50 per trailer. The gentleman at the flea market owner, Mr. Grady Pregin, has went up to $340 per tractor trailer, which is completely egregious, and it's just showing what individuals are facing, but furthermore, a nonprofit organization can be dismantled and demolished due to the fact of these predatory actions of him. They're quite egregious. I've reached out to the owner. Once again, his name is Grady Pregin. The property manager is Mark Jones. I've sent them 3 emails, no correspondence. And I don't know what to do right now due to the fact it's not as if I can just haul these tractor trailers, put them at my home. Once again, they're 48-foot and a 40-foot. And just so you could just see for the record, you see 3 trailers, $100 mark. Like I said, I have over 24 invoices and so forth. And I'm just trying to see if there's any type of emergency funding or anything of the sort that can help us reallocate to, we're trying to just save our nonprofit at this point. And it's been 9 months of us just coming here, not even asking for grants nor fundings, just trying to be pointed in the right direction to better equip ourselves and have a sustainable platform to continuously to help our local community and beyond. And once again, Ryan Hayes with Cairo and Friends. Thank you very much for your time.
Good morning. My name is Malik Abdullah. I'm a member of Florida Rising. But what I'm speaking of, oh, I guess he wasn't talking to me. What I'll be speaking on is not necessarily representative of Florida Rising, but I'm a member in good standing. I think the address by a couple of people that I've heard that is apropos. And you all should hear it or pay attention to it. We're asking you all to be concerned about what your citizens are saying, what the people are going to be voting for, whom they're going to be voting for. It's going to affect you all. So, and I think in the most cases, those people that's concerned don't necessarily need to be addressing you all, except to inform you. We need to be addressing the people that vote for you all. Let them know what a dismal job we think you all are doing. I don't say feel, I say think. So when I look at the record, I see there are a lot of complaints that's being lodged in regard to the work that you all are doing. And I don't remember the brother's name, speak about a slave mentality and how black community are suffering the lack of liveliness, educational facility, hospitals, jobs in the community, worthy things, reteaching and reteaching, re-educating our people to the reality. I don't know what is appropriate for this term. You're not white. You did come out to Caucasus Mountain, but white people, to serve that idea, have built an environment that's conducive to what they want, excluding people of color. Why do you say that, Mr. Abdullah? I say that because you go look into the prisons. Young men overpopulate these places, come out of the institution, can't get a job. You got a man, I might get arrested if I say it like this, but a man leading the White House, 34 indictments against him, don't spend a minute in jail. What in the hell are you talking about? You got a man drop a cigarette on the floor and you arrest him. Why is that? White supremacy, entitlement. You don't deserve that. And you're the chair for this affair today, right? Miss?
I am the chair, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And
your time is
that's
up,
it.
but thank you for your
I have another
comments.
time.
Next speaker, please. We won't start the clock until you stand before us, Pastor Williams.
Good morning. My name is Pastor William.
Good morning.
Located at 1112 East Scott Street. This is where my church is located. You know, I come up here week after week and listen to these speakers, but nothing getting done. Nothing. Never. That's sad. Why, you know, the mayor, she don't include the black folks in her budget. They got that place over there called the Jackson House. Been there for 20 years. Now the city own it now. And you think they doing something about it? Not doing a damn thing about it. And we're in trouble. The reason we're in trouble is not because we're trying to do the best we can, but the best you all can is to nothing. Zero nothing. And it's sad the way y'all mistreat people. Y'all got to get on the ball. We're not responsible for what color we are. We're responsible for doing the right thing in the name of Jesus. And that's just the way it's going to be with me. I'm sorry y'all give me 3 seconds, but y'all need to give me more time because I got a lot I need to say. In fact, I wanted to dedicate a hymn to y'all this morning for Valentine's Day. But y'all ain't going to give me time to do nothing like that. I want to do something rational for all of us. And you know what? I'm just as happy to be here as I was here last week, week before, whenever. But you know what? You all got to give us the right respect that we give y'all. And don't just think that because y'all are white, we got to give y'all respect. You got to return respect unto us. Now when they come up here crying, hollering out, all they do is ring that bell for us to sit down. And you know what? You ain't got to ring for one time for me. I'm going to sit down anyway because I know y'all only going to give me 3 seconds. But I thank God for these 3 seconds because I got to lift up his name. You know, I want to bless y'all this morning with a nice hymn. There's a lily in the valley, brighter than the noonday sun. Oh, there's a lily in the valley, brighter than the noonday sun. Amen, amen, amen. There is Jesus in the valley, brighter than the noonday sun. Amen, amen, amen. Happy Valentine's to all
Thank
of
you
you.
so much, Pastor
And that's
Williams.
tomorrow, right? But remember what I just told you. Thank God for all of y'all.
We have a final speaker.
Good morning, Board, Council. Good morning. So I'm calling.
State your name for the record.
Oh, Robin Lockett. I'm coming up with a concern. I am a part of the Racial Reconciliation Committee, and our meeting is next week. And data. Data may not be important to everybody, but data is important to me. In order for us to evaluate, come up with a solution and/or a solution, I need data. I'm not sure who the data is flowing through, who's responsible for it, but if we don't have data to support or deny what the concerns are, then we're set up for failure, and I don't want to fail. You spent a lot of time, last month was my first meeting, and it blew my mind, because again, I'm asking questions and there's no data. So I'm not sure what route to take. I don't know. Louis, your aide has been there, which has been very helpful, but she can't do everything. I don't know whether it's the administration's part in doing it or providing us with that information. I know the administration chose not to be a part of it because they didn't appoint anyone to it. But that shouldn't leave us to be in the situation that we are in regards to having no data, and timely. So the time has been extended to, I think, August. But again, we're talking about housing right now and not even finished with it. So certain issues are going to be in depth. Certain issues are going to take longer than the others. But if we don't have data, that's a problem. And I'm so serious about this. So I don't know, like I said, the outline was laid out. I asked questions in the last meeting for clarity, but we need data. And I don't know how this is going to work. So, thank you.
Okay, that concludes public comment. We're moving on to agenda item number 1.
Good morning, Courtney Orr, CRA Development Manager. I'm proud to introduce Andy Scaglione, a man who you know very well, so he does not need a long introduction. I just wanted to say that I'm proud to work alongside him as he leads the Channel District Advisory Committee. Mr. Scaglione.
Good morning, Mr. Scaglione.
Good morning.
Clerk, please set the timer.
Okay, we're going to start out with the Washington Street Park renovations. The Parks and Rec and the staff are reviewing the design criteria package. Staff's working with contract administration on a design bid RFP. First. Second item is a new citing the new neighborhood park at 810 Channelside Drive. That was a great buy. Looking back, you know, it was a really, really good decision that we bought that. And staff's working with Solid Waste in Hillsborough County, EPC on a Brownsfield site rehab. And staff is procuring additional environmental services for a comprehensive environmental site assessment report. Staff will be working with CAD on for a pick of 3 design firms for the project. Third item, Channelside District infrastructure improvements. Phase C1 is Twig Street, will be completed by the end of May. Can't happen soon enough. The 2 remaining phases of this project are Phase E1, which is north of 12th Street, and Phase D, which is Whiting Street. These phases are programmed to be complete in the next 2 years. Fourth subject, landscaping and irrigation. Parks and Rec staff attended our meeting last week. At our CAC meeting, they were very transparent and honest. We had a very engaged neighborhood, and they would just said, you know, what the shortcomings are and how we need to make it happen. And I appreciate the transparency and the honesty. CACs discussed what they would like to see in the landscaping, improvement, irrigation, and there's ongoing conversation as how we're going to get that accomplished. The exciting news, as you recall, there was some litigation at 111 North Meridian regarding the mini, I call it storage, climate control mini storage, and y'all were smart enough. Thank God that y'all required them to do the apartments before they did the mini storage, because they could get the financing for the mini storage, and we were concerned at that point we wouldn't have the apartments. Well, what's happened is they built the apartments through the mediation. It came back to y'all, and now the developer with McKinson, very, very local developer of hotels, very reputable. Joe Taggart is their CFO that I know very well. He made a presentation, actually, McKinson actually made the presentation to us, and the property's at 111 North Meridian, and the storage facility is not gonna be built. They're selling the property for a Marriott dual hotel, which will be a Moxie with a rooftop and with an adjoining AC hotel. That'll be 300 rooms, 13 stories, and we're really excited about this because heads and beds is what we want to see. What we don't want to see, and that's 330 minimum heads and beds. What we don't want to see is a mini climate control facility that you have one employee there all day. That the highest and best use of this property was not that, and that's why we fought it all these years. So very, very exciting about that. We only have certain amount of land, and like I said, the highest and best use theory prevails. Something special to me, green area and parks, can't have enough, okay? Urban Land Institute, when they did the study, in this area should have about 11%. We're less than 2%. We have to continue being aggressive, trying to buy real estate. As I've said before, you can't go wrong with buying dirt. You only regret what you didn't buy. And we are actually still pursuing a couple pieces there that we're going to be getting new appraisals on, especially on the A&D auto, which would clean up a big eyesore, but at the same time, the man's been there before all the development, and he's got the right to be there. At this point, I'll open it up for questions. As you know, Channel Side is very, very special. We have a great relationship. Y'all been very strategic in putting a very good CAC board. They're very engaged. They show up to every meeting. We have an excellent relationship with Courtney and Cedric. And more importantly, the neighbors show up, and they're very respectful, but they're asking for things to be done. So I'll open up for questions. As you know, I've been involved. June will be 42 years in the Channel Side area. So we'll open up for any questions.
Board Member Clendenin.
Thank you, Mr. Scaglione. I appreciate the fact that you called out the green space, because it's definitely one of the issues that I've championed, and I know some board members have as well in the Channel Side, specifically the Channel Side district, because you hit it right. There's very little green space and very little opportunities. I was excited to hear, with the Ybor Harbor expansion that is proposed project on the north side of the channel, that the amount of green space that's going to be incorporated in there. So hopefully the CAC will work closely with that developer to ensure that green space is incorporated in well, and it fits your all's vision, the CAC's vision of what that looks like as far as a master plan. So I would definitely encourage you to, when that project starts moving forward, that we make sure that green space exists. And then I have another question. Is this one of these government things that just happens? I see that my good friend Linda Salsena had brought your monthly report forward back in 2008. that this was a monthly report. Is this something for government efficiency and all? Is this something that we can do as a written report and then may possibly do a quarterly in person or as needed? Is that something, because it just seems weird that we just have this continuance since 2008 as a monthly report.
It's a monthly.
Board Member Hurtak.
Thank you. Every CAC comes through.
I understand, but that's what I'm
But-
saying. I'm just, is it something that could be a written report?
I really like hearing from the
Yeah.
CACs. For me, it's very helpful. I wouldn't support a written report.
I mean, how much of a burden is it for you to come down here every month to do this?
It's once a year, actually.
Yeah. Oh, it's always, because it says here it's a monthly report.
Yes,
supposedly.
But different
rotates.
ones.
Yeah, okay, okay.
And actually, we owe her a lot. I mean, I was involved with her in 1994 when we did the renaming of the street, and Linda Sussinas was a big part of Channelside.
No, I get that. I just want to make sure. So we're saying we only get these reports once a year for
It's
each?
different
There are 8
CACs.
CACs.
And
They
we get
each
one?
count one every
How have
month.
I missed that?
I don't know.
Okay, Board Member Carlson.
Andy, 2-3 years ago, there was another piece of land. You were saying that it was a good decision to buy that one piece of land, the small park. There was another piece of land that was like $400 a foot, and I think you and we and everybody thought it was really expensive at the time. Do you know what happened to that land and how much it is now? Should we have bought that land back then?
Actually, it's still available, and we're pursuing it. And we have a willing seller, which is unusual in Channelside, okay? So we are pursuing that.
Okay, great.
And it would give us a great window from Twigs onto an existing large park that we have. So it really makes strategic sense and gets rid of an eyesore of having 30 broken
The other
cars.
thing, and this probably jumps over to city council at some point, but you all were talking about Linda, and you, as I recall, you all wrote the guidelines for Channel District in the beginning, and the idea originally the vision that you all had was that it would step up from the water. And now what we see is, because of all the exceptions along Channel District, we have some 4 or 5-story buildings like Pier House, and then right across the street from Pier House, we're going to have SPP that'll go up to the FA limit. And on the city council side, I still wish we could either include Channel District or part of it in the CBD, or raise the height limit. We've talked about this privately, but do you have any other thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I have to say that Linda and I were totally incorrect on the vision we had Channelside back 30, 40 years ago. We, it was 5 stories, 3 stories. We're incorrect. You got to get the density. And that's what they've done, thank God. That started with the towers of Channelside, that rezoning. When that happened, everything else blew up. But there should be no difference between downtown FAR, which doesn't have an FAR, and Channelside. I mean, what you do is you want the remaining parcels, you want to get density, okay? So they're really, y'all shouldn't even have an FAR requirement.
And could you give us an idea, like on the CRA side, we could subsidize something, but on the regulatory side, by lifting the regulation, we could just help developers reduce costs there. This is an area where people want density. Do you have any idea how much it costs to get an exception to go from 5 stories up to 20 or whatever is allowed?
Well, currently, there's I think coming an amendment in front of y'all, which is a 10.5 FAR. But again, there should be, downtown doesn't have one. You shouldn't even have one in Channelside. That was it's antiquated to have that. There should be no FAR in Channelside.
Real quick question. So
Board Member Clendenin.
is that something that you could come through with, because I concur with Councilman Carlson, is that something that you think the CAC should come through with a recommendation for action, or no?
Well,
But I'm just saying, could they come through and maybe that kick it off?
We've had it before council several times, and staff pushed back on it, but if there's a group in Channel District that could push for it, we know that there's a push for more development and more density. We need more units, although the rentals are cooling off, prices are cooling off a little bit now. We still need more units, and this is an area where people want them. It doesn't make sense that we would tell somebody, oh, you can only have a 4-story building unless you spend $250,000, $300,000 to come before us to ask for an exception. And also with the capital markets right now, you know how long that delays it, and it puts the capital at risk. And so if there's any group that in Channel District that could come before us at City Council and ask us to do that, it seems to me by lifting some of the regulations and making it parity with downtown, which is just across the street, that would be a lot better than pumping a lot of money in to subsidize something that they probably should have by right.
Yeah, I think we need to put that on the agenda, Courtney, for next meeting. I can't see no opposition coming from the CAC on that. You want density, okay, especially when you got remaining parcels left. And you read that, rents are going down right now. That's only temporary. It's just because there's a lot of coming through the pipeline at one time. What's in the pipeline right now, because of the capital markets, you're gonna see a very big slowdown come in 2 years. So, yeah, thank you, okay?
We're gonna be moving on with our agenda. Staff director's report is next, item number 2.
Good morning again, Cedric McCrary, interim Tampa CRA director. Just to start the director's report, you all received at your request for monthly project tracker report. And I'll pause for any questions at all. If not, I will go on and.
Could I?
Do you have anything else you want to say?
Yes, I have a few things.
Okay, so, excuse me, Board Member Carlson. Go ahead and finish your report, and then Board Member Carlson will go first.
I think he just asked us if we had any questions, so I
He
was
did ask that, but he's going to finish his report at the pleasure of the chair, and then we will take questions.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, would like to introduce, as you know, we had several vacancies in our commercial grants team, led by Ms. Reed. So one of the individuals that was just recently hired a few weeks ago was Ms. Katrina House. You heard from her earlier, so I wanted to acknowledge that. And then we also have Ms. Celeste Lau, who just started last Monday. And we have someone else that will be onboarding officially next Monday, Ms. Tiffany Mitchell. So I just wanted to highlight that as we're building out our team. We had several new hires on the project side, and now we're working on the commercial grants, and we look forward to working with them so that as we're having these grants come forward, they're going to be facilitating and processing those to fruition. Okay, CAC orientation. I'm going to slide something on the Elmo. As you know, last year we had 2 dates for orientation for new CAC members. We will do that again this year on March the 10th, and it will be at the Entrepreneurial Collaborative Center in Ybor City. And we will be surveying and confirming with our CAC members, but they are aware that it's coming, and it will be open to all current and new CAC members, and we will discuss everything under the sun for those 2.5 hours related to Chapter 163 and everything that governs the Tampa CRAs. There is an item that's going to be coming before you on February 20th as the City Council related to the interest from the fiscal year 2024, and I did share this with several of you during the briefings. That amount across all the CRAs came to $4.6 million, and as you instructed a couple of years ago, those dollars will either go into the neighborhood infrastructure line items within the respective CRA districts or district improvements. So, but that information will be coming before you because it is a budgetary item at the council meeting on February 20th. The other item that I would like to touch on is you have on your agenda the grant template, and as we're processing those grants, I believe you have the language in front of you, and it has gone through a review process with our new attorney, Mr. Shepard, as well as Attorney Massey, and staff is going to request approval of the revised commercial grant master template and authorization potentially for the CRA director to approve any non-substantive changes to the text and any changes that would be deemed necessary that would be brought to you during the director's report on a monthly basis.
Okay.
And I'll stop there.
Okay, Board Member Carlson, the first question.
Thank you. Just a couple things. On the interest, I thank you for following up with it, and you and I had a conversation about this too. For the public and anybody who doesn't know about the history of this, during COVID, the administration asked the CRA to put in $2 million in COVID relief, and we said we didn't know where the $2 million was. And they said, oh, it's in the interest accounts. And what we found was that they essentially were hiding money in the interest accounts. I've asked the new attorney, and we did make I made a motion at the time we passed that it should be swept into other accounts, as you just said. I don't know that it happened right away, but we've been pushing for it ever since. But what I also confirmed with the attorney is that the Florida law says if you don't move it, you have to refund it. And so I'm not going to go back and look at all that, but we should have been following the law. And it shouldn't have been something that City Council had to make a motion on, and that was before Cedric and any of the folks who are working there now. Number two is that listening to the comments from the public, Cedric and I had this conversation the other day too. We've created a new grant process, and the idea of the grant process, which Erica and Elise and Nicole and others were working on before they left. The idea of it was that it would be more transparent, more equitable for people to apply for grants, and there would be specific criteria. And one of the reasons we did that is so that the staff could also say no, and then it would be less likely that people would jump over staff and demand to come to the board, because then we would empower staff to say, no, you don't meet the criteria. There were two things at least that we missed in that process, and it could have been that we lost in translation, but I know I didn't ask for it, I don't know if others asked for it. One is, unlike City Council, on City Council, the administration can put an RFP, get applicants, choose an RFP, and then we don't even know the RFP is going on until we get asked to approve the contract. But in the CRA, we're also the deciding body, we're both branches. And so there needs to be some preview process for us, because as great as an application is, the one that was talked about during public comment, I didn't know about it until I started getting calls this week. And so just for the public to know, on the city side, City Council has no idea what's coming through the pipeline until it comes before us for contract approval. On the CRA side, we're going through this new grant process, which is supposed to be better, but somehow we need to figure out a preview process so that the City Council members can get an idea of what's coming through, and maybe individual briefings or something like that, and maybe the attorney can advise on that, or Cedric and his team can advise on it. The second thing that Cedric and I talked about is some of the CRA districts are bigger than others, and so a number that might not sound big in downtown is really huge in a place like Central, because there's not that much money going through. And so we probably should put some guidelines down, and I'm not going to make a motion about it now, but we should ask staff to look at some kind of guidelines. For example, no one project can take more than 20% or 30% per year from a CRA district, because we have so many projects coming through. One project request could take up all the money for 1 year in one district. And so it's not about the dollar amount, because in downtown that might be a small percentage, but in a place like East Tampa it's a huge number. And so at some point I think we need to pass a requirement to add to the grant process that limits the percentage per year. It could be the multi-year deal, but at least in 1 year there would be a limitation, because it's not fair to the CAC to go through all this work of planning and everything, and then we have one project per year that takes up all the money. Thank you.
Board Member Hurtak.
We already limit that by the budget we pass every year. So I think in East Tampa, the available funds in that is around $2 million, if I'm correct. Yeah, so 1.2. So we kind of do that already by if you wanted to do like a percentage of that particular line item. Maybe, but I would be open to that. But we already decide how much is going to be spent in each category per year, and if we wanted to change that, we could. Now, it's the only comment I had.
Okay. All right, any other comment? Okay, I have a couple of comments. I wanted to just state that the applications for special projects, can we get, as soon as they apply, that would be one great way for us to find out as a board what's going on at the onset of the application, and presenting that to us so it won't be a surprise is something that I'm recommending. And also, I wanted to ask you about under the director's report where you provide us with the information. Number 7 is the Army-Navy store. I made a motion a couple of weeks back asking for the scope of that project. That's something that we're entitled to. We voted on that when I first became a board member. And so I feel like the administration has ignored that request, but it was a formal motion, and I recommend that, your staff goes back and look to see what was stated about that. But I do remember asking specifically for the scope of the project. According to our previous administrator, who's no longer with us, that portion of it was done. And just kindly, I want this to be my last time asking.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to ask for it publicly. Okay, so thank you. Can we have anyone else? Board Member Hurtag.
I think that's a great idea about knowing. Both of you had talked about learning about projects. Why don't we do it as a once-a-month thing as part of the director's report, getting a written report of all the applications. That way, we do have knowledge, and if we want to know more, we can simply ask.
Right.
I think that also allows the public to see what's coming forward. So I'm gonna, if it's okay, I'm gonna make a motion.
Sure.
That, and help me with it, I want to make a motion that any applications in the large.
Special projects.
And any applications for special projects be per CRA in a similar format as the current.
And it could be an addition to the list that we received.
Yeah,
it
so
could be in that same section.
I'm looking at it as like an Excel, very similar to the current projects that are, where we are in the project tracker. That's what I was looking for. So, to add that, part of the director's report monthly, an Excel chart that mimics the project tracker for each CRA.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Hurtak, second by Board Member Maniscalco. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I had another thought. Oh my gosh. Board Member Carlson.
Yeah, and I think, although it's work for staff to put it in a spreadsheet, I think it helps staff because staff is in the difficult position. I think I said this a couple weeks ago, but when you're giving out money, 90% of the time you're saying no, and it helps staff if we understand what's going on so we can talk to them.
Yeah.
But Madam Chair, you asked for information from the administration. Did you want to make a motion about that?
It was already a motion. It was
don't wanna
already, it was a specific motion already where I asked for the scope of the project.
Do you want to ask it again as another?
No, I don't want to ask for it again. I'm going to give them the opportunity to do that. The 60-year-old brain had a freeze. The $5 million that was, presented in the application, I just want to say this publicly, just because someone applies and asks for a certain dollar amount does not mean that that is what they're going to receive. It is fair for anyone to ask. They can ask. But it is our responsibility as a board to do our due diligence, to take every single thing into consideration. And that's really important. I do appreciate the public comments. That's also an important piece, at least for me, to have that information, to hear what the community is thinking. It's not that we are just all on board just because someone created an application and started a process that we would automatically approve it. That does not exist, especially on my part when it comes to black spaces. If you're listening every week, that is extremely important to me, not only as a board member, but a city council member, the preservation of predominantly at one time African-American spaces, and addressing the administration in that capacity, as I did last week when they worked so diligently to take care of the interlocal agreement for the University of Tampa with such great care. But when it comes to other spaces, and I ask this board, this city council, that those are things that we have to consider when it comes to the African-American community, and that's really important. So I just wanted to say that publicly. I had another comment, and I'm kind of mad at myself that I can't remember it. Are there anything else on that? Okay, so can I get also a motion about the commercial grant agreement recommendation? Go ahead.
I move items 5, 6, and 7.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion for the approvals and a second by Board Member Maniscalco. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, so now we have,
Madam Chair.
yes, Board Member Carlson.
Just to follow up on something you just said, you talked about the African-American spaces, and we've been trying for years to fund the Jackson House. But besides the feedback we've had from the CAC on their priorities, I don't know that we've had a presentation or discussion about historic building or historic meeting spaces in East Tampa. I would leave it up to you to make a motion, but if you ever wanted to do that, I would support having historic preservation or the community come before us and talk about these important spaces that we should put on at least our long-term list.
Absolutely. It is my aim for us to get past just putting up historical markers for what used to be. I am definitely past that. And that is very obvious in my public comments on a regular basis. It's actually kind of hard for me to even sit and enjoy those. While rightfully so, the recognition is there, but the historical spaces are gone and no longer existent. And so even developers are very careful. They no longer use, and I got this from someone yesterday, they intentionally do not use the word gentrification because they know it's a negative connotation. Okay, so we are under new business, and we have, we can start from here. Board Member Miranda, Board Member Vieira.
I have something. And Chairwoman, I ask this because you're on the Heart Board with me. And I want to make sure because it's your district where you're going to be motioning on the fare-free streetcar.
Am I doing that today or this afternoon?
I don't know. I mean, you're
Yeah,
on
that's
the
an
Heart-
afternoon. That's not a CRA.
Yeah, it's CRA. Okay,
Oh.
then I'll that's fine. I'll let me go last with a motion if I may, please. So I want to. Many of y'all know Lieutenant Baldomero Lopez, who was I think, one of our first Medal of Honor recipients here in the city of Tampa on September 15th, 1950, at Battle of Incheon in Korea. He jumped on a grenade and saved the lives of his fellow Marines in the Korean War. And I've been working with city staff and former Judge E.J. Salsines on having a proper memorial for him this September of 2025.
Excuse me, Board Member Vieira.
Yes, ma'am.
Those type of motions are not made at CRA meetings.
This is for CRA.
It is for CRA?
Absolutely. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right, I apologize.
No worries,
learning
ma'am.
mode.
No, you're fine.
Go ahead.
So I've been working with staff on this, and we're gearing it towards the CRA. So I motioned for Corey Robinson with the CRA to work with Robin Nye and Judge E.J. Salsines on a prospective monument within our CRA to honor the late Tampa hero Baldomero Lopez. Second. And I want this to be brought back on a report on status, let's say at our June CRA meeting.
Which CRA?
So that is unknown. It may be the Ybor City CRA, it may be the West Tampa CRA. They're going to work on that.
Okay.
So we don't know yet.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Vieira. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Maniscalco. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
And then let me go last with a motion, if I may.
Okay. Board Member Clendenin passes. Board Member Hurtak? Board Member Carlson?
Yeah, I would, I don't know what motion you all are gonna make on the streetcar, but, in general, I think it is the city's duty to support the streetcar, but I think we ought to have a robust public discussion before we approve or propose any specific dollar amount or anything like that. Let me make this motion and then I can explain it. I'd like to make a motion to ask CRA staff to speak with Chief Tripp and the firefighters union to determine a proposed ballpark budget for a downtown fire station and necessary equipment. Also to ask CRA staff to work with the CRA attorney, Shepard, on a proposed amendment that could be proposed to the county. Request staff to return on March 13th for approval of amendment and budget to be presented to the county for approval.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Board Member Maniscalco. Board Member Maniscalco for discussion.
Thank you very much. Are we allowed to use CRA funds to build a fire station? Do you have to do a
There's
loophole?
a specific exclusion on paying for buildings that are that would be in the city budget. However, there's also a loophole that says that you can you can spend money on additional projects if you have the approval of the other participating government agencies. And so what we need to do is get an amendment from the county. If the county approves spending money on a fire station in downtown, we can do that. And I think the attorney is online. He can explain.
Okay, Board Member Hurtak has a comment first.
What are you talking about, a proposed ballpark budget? I'm
No, I don't
completely
mean,
confused.
sorry. Let me put estimated instead of ballpark. That was a bad word.
Oh, okay, ballpark. Okay,
Estimated.
now, thank you. I was like, hold on.
Okay, so the gist of it is to ask the fire chief and the firefighters union how much it would be to build a fire station and the equipment that goes in it. Sorry, I shouldn't have included that word. That was a bad word. And then to ask the CRA attorney to develop the proposed amendment that could go to the county, and then to present it to us at the next meeting, and we'll hear the budget and what would be included, and we'll see the amendment, and then we can approve those if we want, or we can edit them and come back the next month. But if we approve them, then the CRA attorney could take that to the county attorney. The county attorney could look at it and determine if the county commission voted on it, and if we voted on it and they voted on it, then we could use that. We could set aside a budget to be used on a fire station in downtown.
Have you already had this conversation with our CRA attorney?
Yeah, do you want him to explain?
Yeah, I mean, I would like for the public to hear that, there is some confirmation on the possibility of this happening. Attorney
Yes, ma'am.
Shepherd?
I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
The statute that governs how you spend money in a CRA is 163.387. And within that statute, section 3B says alternate provisions contained in an interlocal agreement between a taxing authority and the governing body that created the Community Redevelopment Agency may supersede the provisions of this section with respect to that taxing authority. The Community Redevelopment Agency may be an additional party to any such agreement. So what that leaves you able to do is, if you can get the county to agree via interlocal agreement, because obviously they contribute to the TIF, then you can do things that otherwise would clearly be prohibited under the statute. The difficulty, frankly, is usually getting the county to agree. But as I explained to Member Carlson, and have explained it various times to others, if you have a good enough relationship or the project is meritorious enough, you might be able to get it done. And I use the example in speaking to Mr. Carlson of Jacksonville Beach, and where the former CRA director there was able to get an agreement with Jacksonville, which is a consolidated county with Duval County, as you know, to build, and I can't remember whether it was a police station or a fire station, it was one of those two. And because there was an agreement, there was no issue there. More recently, in Fort Myers, which is another one of the CRAs I represent, there was an interlocal agreement, a copy of which I sent to Mr. Carlson this morning at his request, to allow money to be expended on marketing and special events. Again, this is typically not an easy ask, and it would not surprise me for counties to say no. But in Lee County, Fort Myers was able to convince enough commissioners to vote for it with certain caps. They can only spend a certain amount of money. It has to be relegated to the specific CRA. It's only so much based on a percentage of their overall budget for that CRA and so forth. But they were able to take a number of marketing events and special events that they wanted to be able to fund and get the permission of the county to spend up to a certain amount of money on those events. So the trick being getting agreement from the county, but with that, I already have a template of an agreement, which I forwarded to Member Carlson, and certainly can send it to you all as just something to look at.
Yes, please share it with all of us.
And take it from there. So is it possible? Yes. Can it be done? Will the county agree? That's the unknown.
Thank you so much for that clarification. And if you can send that to all of us, that's greatly appreciated. Board Member Hurtak, you have another comment? Board Member Hurtak, you turn on your light.
Yes. So, again, I know this is very broad, but I just spent 8 hours Monday night with Station 1 doing a ride-along, and their, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like kind of hangout room where they watch TV and have desks and computers, smells like a sewer or mold. It's bad. It's like really bad. Station 1 needs to be redone. Would this be what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think the study that was done by Joe Greco and the union a few years ago shows that we need another station downtown, and in particular near where the garage is for the port, and so we could add that in. This is in a way a test case to see if the county would do it, and it's a separate agreement. It's not reopening the interlocal agreement. It's an amendment to it.
Okay.
And so if somebody says, well, now we have to worry about the money in East Tampa, that's not it. And I can't imagine that the county commission would turn down supporting firefighters.
Well,
and so, we could see as a test case. But
Okay.
next month, after we get this presentation, you might want to add that in, and we could try for both at the same time.
Or I mean, honestly, just the expansion of Station 1 may be able to do a lot, because actually that's what we talked about when I was talking to the firefighters at Station 1, the ability to add the stuff the port needs. And so I would be interested in that conversation, but Station 1, I mean, a lot of the stations need help, but Station 1 particularly, it truly bothered me that we have our first responders spending time in a space that just is not safe.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Carlson. I apologize, you did have a comment. Board Member Clendenin.
Are you sure that stink wasn't just those big old sweaty firefighters? Is that-
Don't answer that, Board Member Hurte.
I assure you.
So, we've had many, I think Councilman Hurtek kind of mentioned this as well. We've had many conversations about this, and Chief, I support Chief Tripp and her agenda on this. We have land at Station 1. We have opportunities there to move. Administrative staff could work anywhere. They don't have to be at Fire Station 1, which would open up a lot of administrative space. We have enough to add bays there. So I think that incorporating into your motion that should be explored, because we also have to be fiscally prudent and conservative with our money and how we spend it, and prioritization, because we're moving forward on fleet maintenance. We're moving forward on the new fire stations up north. And we have, as Councilman Hurtek said, we have so many needs we're so far behind, decades behind in some of these stations and renovations and improvements and adding bays. And I think that one of the biggest needs that if my memory serves me correct about the expert testimony that's come before us, is emergency response, and specifically of southern parts of Harbor Island, getting an ambulance down there where we have maybe some response time issues. So I think if we need to have quantitative. I believe Ms. Lockett was talking about data, in dealing with issues that they're dealing with, and I think it's the same thing. We deal with data. We need to make these fiscal decisions based on quantitative analysis and what the actual need is. So when we pursue that, I just want to right set this conversation and not be limited. I think it's a great idea of entering in this conversation with the county to be able to specifically, if we could do something with maybe creating an emergency response bay that would be able to service the southern parts of this area with maybe Channelside, because that's where we have a lot of more abundant available funds. But yeah, let's look at it. Let's look at it, but I think we need to right set that and look at the data.
Board Member Vieira, followed by a comment from our interim director.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
And we'll circle back to you, Board Member Carlson.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm supportive of any method that we can use to help remedy what I think is a challenge that we have downtown. If you take a look at downtown 30 years ago, we had one fire station there, and we've pretty much built a city within a city in downtown. And the idea that we don't need at the very least, something akin to Station 25, a medical only, in downtown, geared towards Channelside, I just don't see any rational basis in that. That is, we need that. And so if we use general revenue dollars or CRA dollars, or we successfully fund it through lemonade stands, whatever, let's get it done. If this is a way that we can help move that forward. So my goal, whenever I talk to the Tampa firefighters, I go, by the time we leave, we ought to do three things. Number one, get Station 25 built, or 24 built for North Tampa. Number two, have concrete movement on fleet maintenance. And have the property purchased and begin on the construction. And number three, have something in design conception for downtown. So if this helps us move forward and it's consistent with the law, maybe you do it, Councilman Carlson, for feasibility, whatever, let's do it. Whatever method we can, we should go forward with all vigor.
Interim Director McCray.
Yes, there was just one housekeeping item.
Is it about this topic?
No, ma'am.
Okay, let us vote. Board Member Carlson.
Can I just say, the union has data, the fire department has data, and we've had long discussions about this topic before, but we would encourage them to bring it back next month. And then to Board Member Hurtak's point, yeah, there are fire stations all over the city that need help. There are fire stations in South Tampa that desperately need help, but they're not in CRA districts. And so if we can find a way to fund firefighters, that would be great. I changed, and also don't forget this, the summary of this is that we're just bringing it for discussion next month. So you're not voting for anything yet. Can I read it again just to
Sure,
reflect the
and then-
edits?
yes.
So I changed ballpark to estimate, and then I added and/or renovation of Station 1.
And a second by Board Member Maniscalco.
And
Thank
so,
you.
and I'll give the clerk a written copy of this, but motion to ask CRA staff to speak with Chief Tripp and the firefighters union to determine a proposed estimate budget for a downtown fire station and/or renovation of Station 1 and necessary equipment. Also to ask CRA staff to work with CRA Attorney Shepard on a proposed amendment that could be proposed to the county. Request staff to return on March 13th for approval of amendment and budget to be presented to the county for approval.
Okay, we have that and a second by Board Member Maniscalco. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, motion carries. Yes, Board Member Carlson.
One other quick
Sure.
thing, just pass this
And
down.
then-
This is a recurring issue in the CRA that has been the source of difficulty for staff. Attorney, these are two, and I'll give these to the clerk, these are two job descriptions, one for CRA Communication Engagement Manager and the other for CRA Contracts and Development Manager. And to my knowledge, these were not approved by us. But at the last sentence that is highlighted at the end of the nature work says this is an appointed position with the employee serving at the pleasure of the mayor. I sent emails back and forth to Chief of Staff and Andrea Zellman, and we might need to end up tweaking our agreement with the city at some point just to clarify. We've already voted that we believe that all positions within the CRA report to the executive director. But if for whatever reason the city disagrees with that, then we might need to change the agreement. We could do that with a couple sentences probably. But it's not fair. The point here is it's not fair to somebody applying because it doesn't explain to them what their real condition is. Yes, it's technically at the city, and through the agreement we have with the city, the mayor can fire somebody, but in reality, day to day, they're working for the CRA people. If you go down, and then it says examples of duties, this is under communications, which happens to be an area that I specialize in. Supervise and guide CRA development managers and community advisory committees. So that's surprising that now the community development, CRA development managers report to this person. That doesn't seem right. Next, assist with the implementation of community redevelopment plans. Okay, maybe. Takes a leading role in strategic planning for the community. This is saying the communication person is taking the leading role in strategic planning. That getting input on strategic planning I can understand, but not that. The next one says, two down says represents the city, collaborating with citizen boards, commissions, and public on city-related redevelopment issues. It doesn't talk about the CRA. And the attorney will confirm, and this is where we've had problems with the arts position and others and housing, the city cannot subsidize city positions with CRA money. CRA money can only be spent by law on CRA activities. And what this specifically says is city-related redevelopment issues. That implies that it would include non-CRA redevelopment issues. And so it's misleading to the applicants because they're only going to be working on CRA redevelopment. And it needs to clearly say that they're going to be working on CRA activities. And the next one, activity seeks additional funding opportunities to leverage CRA. And so now the person's a fundraiser too. Anyway, I could go through both of these in detail. The point is, I would like to I'd like to, let me just read my motion. I'd like to make a motion to ask the city HR department to stop advertising the CRA communication and the contracts positions to get board and Mr. Shepard's feedback on criteria and return on March 13th with revised job descriptions and ads for CRA approval. So we're not going to debate, instead of debating all the merits of this now, what we would do is just ask staff to talk to us individually and talk to the CRA attorney who can clearly tell them that some of this is not legal, and then come back with proposed solutions that we can approve and debate at the next meeting.
Yeah, okay, we have a motion and a second. Board Member Miranda
Yeah,
has something
thank
to
you.
say.
I've been quiet, listening to everything, and I appreciate the conversation on all sides. And as I listened to what Councilmember Carlson just said, or board member of the CRA said, I start thinking of the other side, and I have not spoken to the mayor or anybody about this administration or anything like this, but in all my years of public service, HR, does CRA have an HR by themselves?
No.
Well, what I'm asking now, we're looking at opening up something that you may not want to open up. And I'm not an attorney, but the attorney's listening. And all this is about HR, all the items that the city does in conjunction working with the CRA and helping the city turn around and be something much better than what it was 4, 5, 10 years ago and into the future, to make it applicable for everyone to have a nice place and so forth and so on. There's certain things that the city gives or applies to receiving from the CRA in this area with the city. And I don't know what all of them are. So if we're going to do this, we better make sure that everything that the CRA employees and others benefit from the city. Am I going too far here? Am I wrong? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just thinking broad form-minded, that the city gives certain things to the CRA. And maybe that's why this is written that way, but I'm not an attorney, and you spoke to the attorney. I have never called this gentleman, and maybe he should give us an opinion before we go forward on these things, to find out what the city does to give to the CRA and just without any cost. Because I don't think they're charging us for CRA
I have no problem.
different things. I'm not sure this is even correct, but I want to get an
The
answer.
motion is to ask him to come back next month and brief
Well,
us on it.
Whatever you want to do, I want to make sure we don't look like we're going in really, really strong and all of a sudden you slip all the way down. I don't want to embarrass anyone, including ourselves. Thank you.
Board Member Clendenin?
Yeah, I kind of, I mean, I'm not opposed, I think having him come back and report, but I suspect what Councilman Miranda says is got to be part of the direction of this. This is kind of a can of worms. It's a weird situation, but you look at this. The CRA is basically contracting with the city to provide these services, and so by contracting, you're getting HR, you're getting all the all the employment benefits of being an employee of the city. So they are our vendor for these personnel services. At least that's my understanding with our agreement. As far as accountability and reporting, I think that probably should be addressed separately, because I agree that it has these positions should probably be at least as far as chain of command and accountability need to be more straight lined through the director and then thus to us. But as far as the being a vendor, I think it's maybe a can of worms we don't want to open, but I'll let the attorney decide that when this comes back to us next month.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say, ultimately, it's our responsibility. We get to vote on everything as a CRA board, that is going to, come in our direction, including these positions. That's why we took over the hiring, which our next conversation would be even the CRA director, role. The specifics regarding the city of Tampa, we can't get around the fact that the city of Tampa services the people who work for us. HR, everything, falls under them. They handle the payroll, they handle healthcare, they handle all of that. So I don't want to get into the weeds of every specific detail, but the responsibility and who they report to and how it's written, I'm not opposed to making sure that there's clarity there. Any other comments on this? Okay.
I guess I put it to motion as
He already has a motion.
Could I just clarify? I'm not asking to reopen the agreement between the city and the CRA.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm asking right now is for us to look at these job descriptions, because, as a communication professional, it's communication engagement as the position. And usually that kind of person wouldn't do fundraising, for example. And so that's something, there are criteria in there. And this is where we need to give, the HR department, yes, they're giving services for free to us, but we've got to direct them on what we want, what our expectations are. Why are we hiring a communication director? And can you imagine, Cedric's interim, but can you imagine being Cedric or Erica, whomever, and having 15 staff or whatever it is, and then none of them report to you? How could you possibly manage? You have to be able to manage. And sure, the city, because they're city employees, the city ultimately has the right to fire them. But there's got to be some reporting structure that will allow collaboration in the department, not against the city, but just to make sure that everything's working together.
Okay.
And again, I just want to say that, and this may happen in the future, but as far as I know, in all my years of public service, that has never happened between the CRA and the mayor. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can almost assure you that we need this attorney to clear the fact, because there's more to it than just a conversation once you start this. That's all I'm going to say.
So restate your motion for me. Can someone reduce the noise? Oh, Mr. Scaglione, that was.
Motion to ask the city HR department to stop advertising the CRA communication position and the contracts position to get board and Mr. Shepard's feedback on criteria and return on March 13th with revised job descriptions and ads for CRA board approval.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Board Member Maniscalco. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Board Member Vieira.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, and I long story. Were you gonna make a motion?
Ours is just to discuss
Oh,
the CRA director position, but Board Member, Interim Director McCray also has something, so.
I'll go last.
Okay, Mr. McCray.
Yes, just a housekeeping item. I wanted to bring to your attention, we had discussions previously. A part of the grants process was related to the pre-development grant program, and we are now have advertised the RFQ for design assistance services and development consultation for the CRA commercial pre-development grants, and so we are currently in a cone of silence, but I just wanted to acknowledge that, and any questions, concerns related to the RFQ should go through Mr. Jim Griner with the City of Tampa.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so y'all did you want to discuss something before we discuss our CRA director position proposed selection process?
But it's not before or after. I can go
Okay.
after you. Go ahead.
All right, well, you all received the memo. Can we at least get the motion to close the director position posting effective today?
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, and Maniscalco, yes. Any opposed? Okay, so the next one is the CRA board members individually interview selected candidates who meet the minimum post requirements and report their top 3 candidates to the office by March 6th. Is that acceptable?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, do we need a motion for that?
Well,
I know you had a question. I heard that from Kelly.
Yeah, I'm just curious, who's going to organize these meetings? Who's going to organize the interviews? What's the time frame?
Well, you have a window to do it individually within your office between now and March 6th.
Okay, so when...
Because we've already received the applications.
Yes, but when we did this for Ms. Kopesky's position, Councilmember Clendenin's office took on that role and gave us certain windows, worked with the applicants so that they could be available, and then we just kind of slid in. Yeah, and it was much easier.
Okay.
To do it because and the reasoning is because otherwise we are taking that applicant through 7 different things. So if we could just choose maybe a day and each of us get some time if we need it, it just might be better for the applicants.
Okay.
So that would be my recommendation.
Okay, between now and March 6th, we can select, 1 or 2 dates to make sure that all of the applicants are available and schedule around, our aides can work together to make that decision? to make sure
Sure.
we're available?
I would leave it up to the aides to organize, I mean, work together, but generally, it worked very clearly.
Instead of
with
individually.
Mr. Heberlein to do that, so maybe.
Yeah, I will,
So
no problem.
get Darlene to do that.
Board Member Carlson?
Yeah, the other thing that happened the last time we looked for an executive director is that Nicole and Elise, and I don't remember who else, they actually sat in the room during the interviews, and then they wrote minutes or notes from the meetings. And I would just, for whatever HR people or legal that are listening, I don't know if that was a suggestion or requirement by HR or legal, but it was a good idea because it protects all of us. But if that is a recommendation of HR, then we probably ought to try to find somebody who could sit as a witness and.
We
take notes
took it
of this.
over.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's our responsibility to
I
hire.
just use my aide.
Yeah, it's, I don't
I
think
do that
that's-
in my meetings too, but I'm just
I
saying
know,
from
out of an
a,
abundance
from
of
a,
caution. Board Member Clendenin.
I just, again, the HR aspects of this, I would just urge if this is an interview process, there's lots of things that you can and cannot ask. There's all kinds of laws and rules for folks that have not been involved in interviews and hiring and firing. So I would urge you to consult with HR to have them brief you on what an appropriate interview process looks like and the types of questions and answers you can expect, and the areas that you cannot enter into.
Right, and let's just say, remember, we just reviewed applications the last time. We did not talk, you're not required to talk to them. The option is there for those who want to talk. It is not a requirement that you speak to the applicants. You can base it on the qualified 5 applicants who've already submitted their application and make your top 3 decisions from there. So is that acceptable? Yes. Okay. Does anyone plan on interviewing, or they just want to go with the application? Okay, yeah, so, okay. All right.
Just to respond to what Board Member Clendenin said, in the private sector, I hire people all the time, so I'm interviewing people, and I talk to my lawyers and my HR people, and so I can't say I'm perfect at it, but I have a lot of experience.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I've hired a lot of teachers. Sat in interviews. Okay, anything else? Board Member Vieira? No. All right, motion, so we're gonna move forward. We'll have our aides. We'll follow that back up with our aides for those of you who are interested in interviewing, but we agree to come back with our top applicants by March 6th. Okay. Can I have a motion to receive and file?
I need to.
Yes, I keep forgetting about you. I
You're fine,
apologize.
you're fine.
Board Member Vieira, just
so-
trying to break a record here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, no worries. So, I forgot to make a motion, I apologize. I was approached by some folks in East Tampa on, long story short, yes, ma'am, on job training programs for people with disabilities. So what I want to do is a motion for feasibility, and it can be a written report from our council on CRA funds to assist youth with disabilities in job training and/or internship programs into CRA. And again, if we get a negative report on that, then I'll look at something another way. But that's all.
We have a motion by Board Member
And that'll be
Vieira.
next month,
But
or
returning March 13th.
let's do April.
Okay, April CRA meeting.
Madam Chair.
And we have a second. Discussion by Board Member Carlson.
Yeah, you all see that we've been shifting from programs to grants, and that's to try to keep the overhead and staff down. I wonder, just a recommendation, I wonder instead of, that the motion kind of implies that the city or the CRA would implement it. There are a lot of great nonprofits that do what you say, and you're probably thinking of some, but maybe what we could do is get a CRA staff person to come back with a list of nonprofits in East Tampa that provide these services, and to tell us what the differences are for the purposes of defining a possible grant. And then if we approve at that point, we could approve a grant with certain specification.
Yes, sir. And Councilman Hurt.
Yes, I see her. I will recognize her.
No, I'm saying I was going to respond.
Board Member Hurt.
And then my only thing is I am just not sure that we have the ability to use funds.
That's what I'm
CRA
asking
funds
about.
to
Yeah.
do that, especially because that's the whole reason we had to move the summer youth program out, because it didn't have to do with the CRA goals.
Yeah.
So
So That's why I talked about the backup, that this is something I talked about with some community members, that I would first try to see if something could be done here, including Councilman Carlson talked about grants. Again, we're gonna get a report back on it. If I was a betting man, I'd bet a certain way on what it's gonna say, so your point is well taken, you know. But, yeah, Councilman, now I'm chair, so Councilman Carlson.
The other thing is, he could probably give us an answer now, which will probably be no, but the attorney, I had a great conversation with him yesterday, and I think if you talk to him about other case studies, there may be other cities that maybe package this with something else.
Yes.
That would make it allowable.
Yes, sir, and I appreciate that, and that's what I would do. So I guess since I made the motion, Councilman Hurtak, I think you were the last CRA chairperson, because I'm vice chair. So I guess, do you want to call the motion, whatever?
Sure. Motion made by Board Member Vieira and seconded by Board Member Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, Council.
Okay.
That's for it to come back in April. Then.
Yes, okay, now, Board Member Vieira.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. So Justin Willits with Hart is here, and things going on. That's why I was leaving for a little bit. So this is going to be my motion, guys, which is, long story short, y'all know that with the streetcar fare-free issue, we brought it up in the Hart board meeting. I was tasked with meeting with the Castro administration to talk about a potential compromise. We have a potential compromise. We're not going to be asked to vote on it today because, of course, people will have questions on it and so forth. And again, I won't get into it, but we're not going to be asked for allocating today. The potential compromise is that CRA, and we'll talk about this next month if this motion passes, that CRA had allocated funds to help out with bus stops. I had actually motioned for that because of Hart's the number of bus stops that Hart is looking at right now. They won't be able to get to that for another year. So therefore, those funds for the next year could be used for the streetcar, right, for the next year. And Mr. Willits, did you want to add anything, Justin, to that at all, or if I may, Madam?
No. We can discuss it without Mr. Willett. This is our decision.
Okay, I didn't know if any, okay, but if any board members, yes, ma'am, if any board members had any questions. So, and if I may just to clarify, my motion then would be based upon this motion to have a discussion next month on CRA funding the fare-free streetcar. There is a proposal that we have come to with the Castro administration. We can discuss that proposal, and this would have to include retroactive funding as well. Not a ton of money, but that's where we're at. So that would be my proposal for next month.
Hurtak already seconded, and just for clarification, we do have to make that decision during CRA board meeting. So thank you for doing that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Board Member Miranda for discussion.
When I hear things like not gonna be a ton of money, I don't know what that means, and I hate to say that, but it is. And then if you're gonna lose those dollars in this year, how are you gonna supplement the future dollars in the future?
So, may I?
Yes, Board Member.
I don't
Followed by
have.
Board Member Carlson.
Oh, I don't have the exact amount. Mr. Willits probably does, but again, my motion is for us to have a discussion
Right.
on that. It is not for any specific proposal on it. It's just for us to have the discussion, including on that proposal. We're not passing anything.
Yes, Board Member Carlson.
Yeah, one thing you might want to do is add Mr. Willits to your motion so he could come back. The other thing is you all remember I'm against the city funding Hart because Hart was moved out of the city during the Martinez administration, and the taxing authority of it went. However, the streetcar in its newest form was created during the Greco administration, which was after the Martinez move. And so I don't object to having a discussion about it. I hope we can be creative about how we look at it, but I think the streetcar is different than the other services that Hart provides because it was created after Hart was moved out.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second by, who was it? Board Member Hurtak. All those in favor?
Aye. Oh,
I
I apologize. That includes Mr. Willett's coming. My apologies.
Yes,
as Councilman
including
Carlson.
comments from the heart, Mr. Willets. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to receive and file. I gave you your opportunity, board.
Yes, ma'am, you did,
interim
but,
director.
thank you, Cedric McCray,
You are
interim CRA
recognized.
director, thank you. Just so we have direction as a staff, I just wanted to make sure, are we looking at one specific CRA district, or is this
Great
all of
question.
the,
So-
all of the CRAs that the streetcar may
I had
travel
thought
through?
that discussions were had from 306 Jackson to you guys before, and that's why I was outside for a little bit. So yeah, I will disclose that it would prospectively be where the streetcar runs, and that would be Ybor downtown Channel Side prospectively. But again, they will brief you on this.
So we have a motion to receive and file by Board Member Clendenin, second by Board Member Maniscalco. All those in favor? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.